here's some new footage from Tel Aviv, and I was speaking to sources in Tel Aviv who were showing me videos outside of their freaking window of what they were seeing. But you won't see this on Fox News at all. This is Tel Aviv. Of course, buildings being blown up, direct hits right next to City Hall. But why is Fox News, do you think, not really covering any of this damage in Tel Aviv, Colonel?
Well, look, I just saw a few minutes ago a interview with Keith Kellogg on Fox News, and they were asking him about I think it was a Wall Street Journal report that said that we're going to have to do something pretty quick because we're going to run out of interceptor missiles. We don't have enough to sustain this over this 4 to 5 week period that President Trump talked about. And he says, no, that's not the case. No problem at all. We obviously wouldn't have ordered something like this. Our commander wouldn't have ordered something like this unless he knew we had enough missiles in the stockpile. And in any case, we can get some from our allies if we need to. And I was just thinking, look, UAE, according to Bloomberg, has said that they've got about a week left of interceptor missiles, and they're going to run out, and they're not even the primary target.
Right.
We're seeing, you just showed a video there of even what we have. It's these missiles that are coming in from Iran are just going through it like a sieve. And now that we may run out completely, and that's something I think you and I have talked about before. We had a limited number of interceptor missiles because we've given so many to Israel over the last 2.5 years and to Ukraine over the previous 4 years. And our inventory was already low. This is why I have been warning so emphatically for so long that these wars are making our own national security less more vulnerable and putting us at higher risk. And now you're seeing it play out before your eyes, but it could get a lot worse because now there's nowhere else to get missiles from. And we can't make them fast enough. And if we keep going on with this fiction that we're going to win something here and we use all the rest of what we have, our entire national security across our global requirements will be put at greater risk. And that is something that should be, it should never get to that point.
Now, some of the propaganda is, oh, Europe is mobilizing. Oh, we've got France. We've got Greece. They don't have a major army other than NATO-funded armies. So do you think that Iran would be quaking in their boots that, uh-oh, here comes Greece?
Yeah, I'm thinking that the mighty Greece armed forces is not exactly going to cause a lot of trepidation in Tehran when the U.S. and Israeli armed forces together are not causing them to quake. Look, this onslaught is a tremendous amount of combat power, and for all the videos you were showing there in Tel Aviv, there's just as many in Tehran, in some of the other cities, in Qom, and in several other places throughout the country. They are getting just pummeled and hammered because a lot of our stuff's getting through as well. But the fact is, they knew this was coming, and they have calculated, and they signaled this ahead of time, that they felt that it is less risky to have a war with the United States and Israel than it was to submit again, because otherwise it was going to eventually get to that point to where they would be destroyed anyway. And so they said, look, we're going to hit you back in the face, and we're going to give you a bloody nose. We're going to give you a broken arm. And so far, that's exactly what they're doing. And the question is, this is all about missiles. It's not going to be about anybody's army or any ground force. There's no army involved here. This is all about missile forces and air defense missile forces. And it's a matter of who's got the most resources. And right now, I don't think we have enough air defense missiles. And I think that Iran does have enough offensive missiles to at least drag this out for multiple months longer than we can. This is probably not going to go like the Russia-Ukraine war where it can go on for years. This is probably something that could go on for weeks or many months potentially. And if it does, we're in a world of hurt because we can't drag it out that long, especially if they completely shut off the Strait of Hormuz, and they have it partially shut off now. The whole Western economy is going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
Former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, Admiral James Stavridis, am I saying that correctly? Says,
Yes.
as both the U.S. and Israel expend hundreds of precision weapons from JDAMs to Tomahawks to Patriots, it is time to start focusing on logistics. How deep are the stockpiles? In wars, the true professionals are ultimately the logisticians. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's time to start focusing on logistics.
Right.
Look, Clayton, this should have been done way back in the planning stage, when the first day you ever got together in the tank or wherever they did this in the Pentagon or wherever, that should have been job number one. You should have had all these charges, said, all right, here's how much our inventories that we have, the classified numbers. Here's what we think it would take to accomplish the objectives, the political objectives that the president wants. And here's how much time we think it would take to get that. And then you say, do the ways and the means match? Can we get this done? The answer would clearly have been known, because the only way it's a yes, and it looks to me like this is what we are literally gambling everything on. You think that you've bought into the rhetoric that they were saying before this, that the Iranian regime is like a house of cards. It's never been weaker than it is, whole 47 years than it is right now. So you go and you throw a few missiles down, they collapse, they fall, game over, and yay, we win, we come out easy victory. That's, I think, the only way that you could say that we're going to take this action here, because if they did the normal thing, which is to not collapse, because with no threat of a ground force like there was in Iraq in 2003, then the only thing you have is missiles, and we clearly did not have enough offensive missiles in a country 4 times bigger than the country of Iraq to bomb them into the Stone Age. Just consider this, so important here. The tiny little Gaza Strip that Israel had complete mastery over for 2.5 years have literally turned it into a moonscape, and they still have not brought into submission the Palestinian people and Hamas, even Hamas in this tiny little enclave. Now imagine in a country the size of Iran that you're going to expect them to collapse overnight when almost nobody else does that in history. The Houthis didn't do it. Hamas didn't do it. Hezbollah didn't even do it, even with all the damage they've caused. And you think that Iran is going to do that? And yet we have gambled everything, and now we're on a course to where we are using all these JDAMs, all these precision munitions, the air defense missiles, and there's no path to get out now. So this is a huge blunder of enormous proportions.
Now, about 2 weeks ago, it was reported that General Dan Kane reported to the president that we don't have enough ammunition to win this war. It would not be pretty. We probably would not. And then President Trump took to his Truth Social and said, oh, no. If we do it, it will be easily won. He promised, easily won. And now here we are, and it looks like General Kane was probably right. There were adults in the room who knew our capabilities. You know, they had assured us there would be no ground troops. Now President Trump is saying there may be ground troops if that's necessary. I mean, I don't even know what the entry point would be in Iran. You're saying ground troops would not really do very much. So speak to the fact that this is not easily won, and anyone who believed that is a jerk.
Could I also maybe just follow up with that, Colonel? Is that also, to what you just said, an admission to use ground troops is an admission that we don't have the missiles to sustain the mission?
Inadvertently, that's exactly what it is. And, you know, and I wondered at the minute you brought up that issue about Trump's Truth Social after the reports where the General Kane said that there was some enormous risk involved here. And Trump came out and said, no, that's not what he said at all. Fake news. Actually, he said, this is what he quoted Kane. He said we would win easily. Not that Trump said it. He claimed that that's what the general said. And I noticed and looked very carefully for it. It was not rebutted anywhere. General Kane never came out and said he didn't say that. And I was thinking at the time, I'm wondering how this is going to play out in history. This is before the attack. Because if it goes the way I think it's going to, and he never said, he didn't refute that, then you're going out there and you're letting the president mischaracterize something you said, and you're going forward. So do you have the integrity to stand up and say, no, that's not what I said. I did not say it was going to be easy, because right now it looks like you're concurring with him. So now you're allowing by your silence for people to believe that, oh, well, that is what he said then, because the president said it and he didn't contradict it. And so now if you have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that told the president this is going to be easy, then you got the wrong guy in that job. And if he didn't say that, and if he believed it otherwise, and yet he stayed silent and continued going on, you still have a problem. Because at some point, somebody's got to stand up and say, no, you're given a political objective that we don't have the military capacity to accomplish. And if we try to get this accomplishment where it's impossible to succeed or improbable, then we will cost ourselves tremendously. We're already seeing that play out now. God help us if this continues on, if it even goes to this 4-week part, because we have already suffered so much loss, not just in the number of troops, but in our credibility and reputation among our friends and allies.